This is Valley View News.
They are simply unconstitutional.
But I also don't mind if the government tries to be neutral.
The Supreme Court is set to hear arguments on same-sex marriage.
It could either fall off if it's not properly maintained and pose a hazard to motorists.
Cars displaying ads are no longer welcome in Burbank.
It's very mental, it's very challenging.
And some basketball players in Pasadena are gearing up for a different type of playoff.
Hello and welcome to Valley View News. I'm Jonathan Gonzalez.
And I'm Lita Alicani.
The Supreme Court was set to address a same-sex marriage debate in two cases this week. Hearings Tuesday will consider Prop 8, California's gay marriage ban. The next day, justices will hear arguments over the Defense of Marriage Act. People are already camping outside of the courthouse in D.C. in hopes of getting to witness the proceedings. Supporters of a ban say they're worried about responsible parenting and the effect same-sex marriage will have on children. Same-sex marriage proponents say the courts need to protect the fundamental rights of minorities. California State Attorney General Kamala Harris says the U.S. Supreme Court has defined marriage as a fundamental right.
We are talking about those rights that we as a nation designated as being some of the most sacred of all the rights we can have.
The first case began in 2008 when Californians voted to ban same-sex marriage. A San Francisco court upheld that voters can't just throw out a right granted by the state constitution. The Supreme Court may enforce same-sex marriage as a constitutional right, or it'll uphold states' rights to allow bans and limitations on marriage. Wednesday's case challenges the Defense of Marriage Act. Currently, the federal government does not recognize same-sex marriages. This prevents same-sex couples from joint tax filing. The case argues this violates Fifth Amendment rights to equal protection. President Obama says he doesn't support the Defense of Marriage Act.
CSUN students have mixed feelings about same-sex marriage.
The fact that it won't allow same-sex couples to marry or just have the same rights as others is it's disappointing. It's kind of depressing in a way, actually.
I feel that's wrong because I feel that people should be able to do whatever they want, and it's the same thing as a man and a woman being married. It's the same kind of love.
Everyone should have the right to get married, Sometimes the heart chooses who they like, and unfortunately it's not who you want it to be,
Whatever you do behind closed doors is nobody else's business.
Yeah, if you don't feel comfortable, if someone doesn't feel comfortable, then they shouldn't ask, or, it's like don't ask, don't tell.
Many students on campus feel it's simply a personal choice and legislation should not get in the way.
President Obama is pushing Congress for an immigration overhaul. He's made his latest pitch at a naturalization ceremony at the White House.
It keeps us vibrant, it keeps us hungry, it keeps us prosperous. It is part of what makes this such a dynamic country.
Obama says he wants an immigration debate to begin in the Senate by next month. A bipartisan group of senators has worked on a proposal for the past 3 months, but the lawmakers left for recess about 2 weeks without completing their work. Obama has threatened to introduce his own plan if the group does not come up with a proposal soon.
Mexico, Philippines, El Salvador, China, and Vietnam are the top 5 countries for U.S. immigration. Earlier this month, more than 6,000 people from those countries and others became United States citizens. Jacqueline Galvan has the story.
The line was out the door as thousands of people were waiting to become United States citizens. As they went through security checkpoints and turned in their green card, the next step was to take the oath. In order to apply for citizenship, a person must be 18 years of age, live in the U.S. for 5 years, read, write, and speak basic English, answer questions about the U.S., and undergo a background check. District Judge Otis Wright says presiding over the ceremony is something he enjoys.
This is really one of the most rewarding things that we do. When you see this many thousands of people so anxious to become citizens of this country, trust me, everybody leaves happy.
Once the judge administers the oath, these applicants are now considered United States citizens and obtain their certificate as legal citizens. USCIS Chief of Staff Martha Flores says hundreds of thousands of people become citizens in a year.
At times we've done up to 170,000. That was when we were at our highest.
Some of the new citizens expressed the joy of their citizenship.
Fantastic. In fact, it's kind of unusual because I've been living here legally since 1974. And I should have done this a long time ago.
It feels like it's been too long, but it's great.
I feel like good because I can practice the rights of Americans now. It's just a blessing to be a part of this country finally.
It finally feels like I'm, part of the club.
Due to federal regulations, a citizenship process is very long and tedious, but the best part is the joy on people's faces once the ceremony is over. At the LA Convention Center, I'm Jacqueline Galvan for Valley View News.
U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met Israeli and Palestinian leaders. It was a follow-up on President Obama's talks between the two sides.
What I have is hope. I have hope that the president's words kindled a sense of the possible in the people of Israel and the region and the Palestinians.
Kerry also urged Iraqi officials to stop Iranian aircraft from flying over Iraq, carrying military equipment to the Syrian government. Kerry also addressed democratic reforms and upcoming Iraqi elections that are threatened by sectarian tensions. He also endorsed recommendations by the Arab League and the United Nations to oppose a no-fly zone over the Libyan airspace.
Smokers may not be able to light up at CSUN or on any other CSU campus. The CSU Senate is proposing a resolution to make all campuses tobacco-free. CSUN representatives from a group known as COUGH supported the plan at a Senate meeting in Long Beach. If passed, the proposal will be an executive order and students will not get a vote in the matter. They'll just have to stop smoking on campus.
Cities in Los Angeles are slowly cracking down on advertising vehicles.
Melanie Shale has more on the story.
Cars and trucks covered with advertising have been a common sight in Burbank, but that's changing. The City Council is expected to ban the so-called mobile vehicle ads.
The advertising vehicles were brought to the council's attention after vans like this one began appearing around town. The vehicles would park on the street for hours and even days.
There was a surge in those vehicles unlicensed, refusing, it seemed, to become licensed.
Deputy City Planner Patrick Prescott says the ordinance will no longer issue mobile advertising licenses to these vehicles because they create safety hazards.
It could either fall off if it's not properly maintained and pose a hazard to motorists. It could obstruct views. Vandals will tag them, becomes an aesthetic nuisance. It also occupies important parking spaces in the city.
Violators could be towed or charged a fine. The advertising companies who could not be reached for comment say that advertising vehicles are protected under the First Amendment. Burbank residents have different reactions to the ordinance.
Well, honestly, I think I agree with it because, if it takes up too much room on the city streets, maybe they should have to pay for the parking.
I'm actually against it. I think local businesses should have every right to, create revenue in whatever way they want. It's not affecting anyone. What is a banner just like any other banner on the street? How is that affecting anyone?
The City Council has held its second meeting. If the ordinance passes, it will take up to 30 days to take effect. Back to you in the studio.
Morning commuters will have heavy traffic delays passing through Studio City and will have to put up with it for a month. Coldwater Canyon closed and will remain closed for most of April. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power will be replacing a 99-year-old water pipe. Some 30,000 cars use Coldwater Canyon each day as a main route from the San Fernando Valley to the west side. Coldwater will be closed Mondays through Fridays from 8:30 a.m. to 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. City officials suggest the following alternate routes: Cahuenga Boulevard and Highland Avenue, Laurel Canyon Boulevard, Beverly Glen Boulevard, Sepulveda Boulevard, and the 405 freeway.
California has just opened up the first highway tunnels in 50 years. The two tunnels are located at Devil Slide, south of San Francisco. The project cost nearly $440 million. The 30-foot wide tunnels pass beneath San Pedro Mountain. They feature state-of-the-art ventilation, fire detection, and are open to bicyclists. The complete project also includes two 1,000-foot bridges. The federal government funded the development, which came after decades of debate among people who live in the area.
Coming up next, we will update you on the madness that is the NCAA tournament.
The Clippers win a big game.
And some LA groups are helping preserve the Watts Towers.
So, are you going out tonight? I can't. My parents say I have to be home right after work. That's so gay.
Totally gay. Ugh, that is so Emma and Julia.
Why are you saying that's so Emma and Julia?
Well, when something is dumb or stupid, you say that's so Emma and Julia.
Who says that?
Everyone.
Imagine if who you are were used as an insult. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
Turning a 20-foot wall into a canvas takes vision. So will getting into college. I've got what it takes. So do you.
It's Timothy Green's first day at school.
What's in there? He's about to fall over.
Anything he might need. There's a box of tissues on the bottom and some Band-Aids. There's a whole first aid kit, actually.
Mom, I can handle it from here.
You don't have to be perfect.
Have a great day.
That's too much pressure.
Have the day you have.
To be a perfect parent.
There are two people in the world who want you more than anything. They'll make some mistakes, but they will love you more than you can ever imagine.
There are thousands of children in foster care who will take you just as you are.
Over 13 million people are affected by famine, war, and drought in the Horn of Africa.
Make a simple text donation of $10.
But do more than donate. Forward the facts.
Fragile bits of materials, some of them odd, the kind of things many people throw away. They were built into a Los Angeles icon and they now need preserving. Valley View's Greer Hill is more about protecting the famous Watts Towers.
Down this dead-end street, Italian immigrant Simon Rodia built a complex set of structures in Watts, using society's leftovers such as ornamental fragments, pottery shards, seashells, pieces of colored glass, and glazed tile. Rodia spent more than 30 years constructing what he called Nuestro Pueblo. Having been here for almost 60 years, the Watts Towers have shown some deterioration.
Constructed between 1921 and 1955, the 17 structures behind me have become an iconic monument to the city. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art, UCLA's Samueli School of Engineering and Applied Science, and the city's Department of Cultural Affairs have partnered together to preserve Rodia's work of art.
Dr. Arturo Tajiroliu is an engineering professor at UCLA. He says the towers are affected by the elements.
Watts Towers is an outside monument and it's exposed to the sun, the wind, and the occasional earthquake, vibrations from nearby traffic.
The Metro Green Line train frequently runs by the towers also. Cracks in the structure and other stresses are being monitored by several mechanisms like displacement sensors, wind sensors, thermometers, an accelerometer, and a tilt meter. To help LACMA develop protocol for conservation, Tajiroliu and his team will make a model.
Then we can use that computer simulation model to find out how the internal stresses are, evolving during a given day.
The scientists hope their work will help the Watts Tower stand for many more years. From Watts, I'm Greer Hill for Valley View News.
Now here's Valley View reporter Haley Skeen with a look at one of LA's little-known sports leagues.
The NBA and the NCAA teams aren't the only ones getting ready for the playoffs. It's early Sunday morning in Pasadena, and the Clippers are kicking into gear for another day of training. But it's not Blake Griffin and Chris Paul out on the court. Matt has played for the Clippers of the National Wheelchair Basketball Association for 6 years.
For me to compete in any kind of sports level, this is the only place I can do it. So, and it was scary at first, to be honest.
Now Matt is able to walk, but he spent most of his childhood in a wheelchair.
I think it's a more violent sport than normal basketball, which I like.
And according to coach Josh Campos, the NWBA is highly competitive.
It's very physical, it's very mental, it's very challenging.
The league follows NCAA rules and regulations, so the hoops are as high and the courts as long and wide. Player Juan DeSales helped pioneer the team over 30 years ago after a blood infection caused him to lose his legs.
Some of the people that I played with in high school, we decided to make a team, after high school.
These Clippers take winning seriously.
We play in a division called the Division of Champions, and most of the guys who played have at some point been a Paralympian in their career.
Yet they continually reach out to potential teammates regardless of skill.
It is important for, especially for people that just get injured, and a lot of times those people, they feel like that's the end of the world. If you live around where I live, I'll come and pick you up, and so we can go and practice and learn some basketball.
For the players, basketball is more than a game.
The overall game has added a grittiness to my personality that I love. When I had hard times in my life, it got me through to being an independent individual.
Campos is confident his team can make the Final Four this year.
We have all the plays. It's just a matter of knowing how to work it in your chair.
The fight is on for the 2013 championship, but these players don't need a title to feel like winners.
It's not about winning all these games, like traveling across the country, which is great. It's just about the grit.
In Pasadena, this is Haley Skeen for Valley View News.
Now it's time for sports with V&A Arana. It looks like that Westwood Brass finally said enough was enough.
They definitely did. UCLA fired coach Ben Howland. Howland was the longest tenured coach since John Wooden. He is leaving after a rocky but successful season. He had one of his best coaching performances, leading the Bruins to the Pac-12 regular season championship. Athletic director Dan Guerrero says he evaluates the coach on more than his losses and wins. Instead, he looks at the entire program, saying it was an appropriate time to make a change. Howland leaves with a 233-107 record. The Clippers have locked in a higher playoff position than the Los Angeles Lakers. The Clippers' 101-95 victory over the Brooklyn Nets pushed the record to 48-22. It's almost inevitable that the Clippers will finish on top of the Pacific Division. They are 8.5 games ahead of the Golden State Warriors. An NCAA triumph story, Florida Gulf Coast University, is causing a stir. But it's a good one. People can't seem to get over the big win of the number 15 seed in the South Region tournaments. The team's 81-71 victory against the number 7 seed San Diego State Aztecs landed them a spot in the Sweet 16. Vernon Wells is on his way to New York. The Angels outfielder has reportedly been traded to the Yankees. A deal is expected to be announced soon. It is not yet clear what LA will receive in return for the former slugger, but they are expected to pay most of the remaining $42 million on his contract. Wells hit .230 with 11 home runs and 29 RBIs last season for the Halos. MLB is kicking off the 2013 season. The Rangers will be taking on the Astros in Houston. It will be the first American League game for the Astros. The game will be broadcast during prime time on ESPN. The Red Sox and Yankees will face off at 1 p.m. Eastern Time Monday on ESPN. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race in Fontana had a shocking finish. Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano went head-to-head in the final lap when they crashed into each other, sending both cars spinning into a wall. Denny Hamlin suffered a compression fracture in his lower back in the crash. Hamlin already had a history of back problems. He hopes to be released from a nearby hospital soon and plans to fly home to North Carolina. The crazy finish gave Kyle Busch the advantage, who went along the outside and took home the big win. Tiger Woods is again the #1 golfer in the world. Woods returned to the top of the rankings after his win at the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Tiger beat Justin Rose by 2 strokes at Bay Hill. This is the 8th time Woods has won the Palmer Invitational. He was last atop the world rankings in 2010. The Costa Rican Soccer Federation has filed an unusual complaint against the U.S. The teams played a game outside Denver in heavy snowfall. The team from the tropics says the physical ability of the players was hurt by the cold weather. FIFA has declined to comment on the matter. The U.S. team won the game 1-0. The victory has qualified the U.S. for a spot in the next year's World Cup. After they thawed out, Costa Ricans said they want a rematch. Pretty crazy to see a soccer game played in snow like that. That does it for sports. Back to you guys.
Thanks, V&A. Coming up next, Justin Timberlake has a new album.
A popular rock band calls it quits.
And coffee lovers get together to talk about the best brews.
Oh, those boys are much too much. Those boys are much too much. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We got the spirit. We're hot. We can't be stopped. We're going to beat them and bust them.
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life.
Let's get a little bit rowdy. R-O-W-D-Y.
Take time to be a dad today. Call or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Okay, everyone, we have a lot to cover this morning. Tim should be here any second with the latest budget numbers to take us through the initial schedule for production and...
Ow. This is one way to avoid getting the H1N1 flu virus.
Oh, whoopsie daisy. All right, good morning. Let's get this meeting started.
For some better ways, visit flu.gov.
Anyone have a tissue?
I've seen and been a part of many comebacks in my career.
To come back and win, you can't lose hope. Take it one play at a time.
Grab every opportunity, and when you can, you make a big play.
There are over 13 million people in the Horn of Africa affected by famine, war, and drought that are counting on us for help.
As a team, we can help end this crisis. Text GIVE to 777-444 to donate $10.
Let's start this comeback together.
Together.
The Los Angeles Public Library has hosted a celebration that could wake people up in a hurry. It's all about coffee culture and the people who are behind the $100 billion coffee industry. From the role of organic farming to trendy flavors of coffee, Bridget Johnson has the story.
For some people, coffee is a stimulant, a career, and even social commentary. For most, it's coffee or death, especially at 6 in the morning before work. Locals gathered at the Los Angeles Public Library to hear a variety of coffee specialists discuss its sustainability. One of the panelists, founder of Good Land Organics, Jay Rusky, says Californians need to invest in the quality of coffee in order to bring in profits.
And we need to support our labor year-round. Coffee's a good one. And I think we're getting close as long as we can produce a very good cup of coffee that people want to pay for.
Supporters of organic and fair trade coffee are interested in promoting the bean's value.
We're trying to push coffee to be looked at as if it is a perishable thing, and actually look at when it was processed or when it was roasted.
Whether it's Starbucks, Coffee Bean, or your local coffee house, these businesses offer an abundance of flavors to choose from. Regardless of where the bean's from, director of the Specialty Coffee Symposium, Peter Giuliano, reminds guests that coffee originated from Ethiopia.
When we're drinking coffee, we're all eating Ethiopian food.
Programs manager for the Coffee Quality Institute, Alexandra Katona Carroll, says consumers should be on the lookout for a new trending coffee.
For beers, I think it's going to be interesting for specialty coffee to really talk about what acidity really is, and it's not a bad thing, and it's not going to hurt your stomach. It's actually delicious and interesting and complex.
More than 80% of adults drink coffee in the United States, which is still the world's biggest consumer of the drink. In Northridge, Bridget Johnson, Valley View News.
Here's the scoop.
Now it's time for entertainment with Charnay Davenport. Charnay, it looks like Justin Timberlake's long-awaited album was well worth the wait.
That's right, Lita. Singer Justin Timberlake is back at the top of the charts, this time with the new album, The 2020 Experience. The album became the fastest-selling disc of the year in the UK. The album is projected to sell 1 million copies in a week, which shouldn't be too hard for the pop star. Timberlake surpassed that goal 13 years ago with his old group NSYNC. They currently hold the record for the most albums sold in a week for No Strings Attached. It sold 2.4 million copies. Other recent artists to sell 1 million in a week include Taylor Swift from her album Red and Lady Gaga with Born This Way. Speaking of #1, in this past weekend's box office, the animated film The Croods by DreamWorks debuted, bringing in $44 million. The caveman comedy stars the voices of Tina Fey and Paul Rudd. Next in line is Olympus Has Fallen, which has brought in about $30 million.
He's a good man. What do you know about goodness? Deep down, you are wicked. You're not wicked!
And rounding out the top 3 is Oz, the Great and Powerful. The movie starring James Franco brought in $22 million in its 3rd weekend. Another James Franco movie in this weekend's top box office list is Spring Breakers. This movie also featured ex-Disney stars Selena Gomez and Vanessa Hudgens. If you haven't seen it yet, beware because the film is rated R. Gomez and Hudgens play wild and sexy roles, not exactly the Disney stars they used to be. The two play college girls who end up in jail after they rob a restaurant to pay for their spring break. How does it all turn out? You'll have to see for yourself. Spring Breakers brought in $5 million in its opening weekend. Speaking of Selena Gomez, she was one of many to get slimed at this year's Kids' Choice Awards. Gomez won Favorite TV Actress for her role on Wizards of Waverly Place. Other winners of the Little Orange Blimp and a complimentary slime included Kristen Stewart for Breaking Dawn Part 2 and Adam Sandler for lending his voice in Hotel Transylvania. In music news, Season 4 of The Voice is already here, this time with 2 new judges. Shakira and Usher are replacing CeeLo Green and Christina Aguilera. They aren't the only new additions to the set. Shortly after joining the cast, Shakira announced she was pregnant with her first child. The Hollywood Reporter says to expect the first couple of episodes to be very emotional between the expecting mother and the contestants. After the shows were taped, the Colombian singer gave birth to the baby boy Milan. The rock band My Chemical Romance has come to an end. The group's singer Gerard Way posted a lengthy 2,200-word note online announcing the group's split. MCR made their debut 12 years ago. Way made it clear to his fans that the group isn't splitting because of failure or disagreement. In fact, the band came to an agreement that it simply was time for the end. That's all I have for entertainment today. My Chemical Romance just deciding to quit. I don't know if it's as simple as that. Back to you guys.
Springtime is finally here, and with the warm weather and spring break right around the corner, Cal State Northridge students may not even need to leave campus for some beautiful scenery. Valley View News reporter Vanessa Alvarez shows us what our local university has to offer if you're looking to enjoy the great and peaceful outdoors.
This is CSUN's Botanic Garden. It has everything from wildlife to beautiful plants and flowers. And what better time than now to enjoy the location that is right on campus? Since springtime has come, the garden has hundreds of flowers that have recently blossomed. The atmosphere is perfect for a sunny day. Whether you want to sit on a bench and study or walk the many trails it has, this garden is a peaceful location to do just about anything. Amy is a biology major and said she's usually the only student who volunteers.
I came here with a friend and I was just amazed at all the plants, and so I really like plants, so that's why I come here.
Every Thursday morning, volunteers come to help take care of the garden. Volunteers at the garden are never without work. There's plenty of light gardening to really get your hands dirty. Just ask the Botanic Gardens facility manager, Brenda Cano.
We do a lot of hand weeding. We do a lot of planting also. And we transplant, we start seeds in containers and then bring them out to the garden and plant.
There isn't only work to be done outside, the garden also has 4 greenhouses. Several biology classes on campus use the plants grown here. The greenhouses are used to take care of plants that could not live without a controlled environment. What more could this place have to offer? There's also a butterfly garden. Maybe it's the time of year, but CSUN looks just a little more appealing thanks to this botanic garden. So, whether you're a student or not, all are welcome to enjoy the spring season among the flowers. I'm Vanessa Alvarez for Valley View News.
We thank you for watching Valley View News.
Have a great evening.